Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Connections, Coffee, and Confidence with me, Janice. I'm coming at you from our new home in Prince Edward Island. If you've ever read Anne of Green Gables, then you know where I am, and my freckles and I are fitting in very well, thank you. The new house has a new office, which you may have seen if you've been on my Facebook or Instagram stories recently. It has windows and everything. Okay, if you're new, you don't know that this is actually a significant move from my Harry Potter style cubby under the stairs. And we're happy to be settling into a new home and getting into a new routine. And I feel like I have a new lease on life, to be honest. And what's interesting is that I've had a reoccurring theme push its way through to me. One that's come from some kind of surprising people. And if it's come from them, maybe you're experiencing it too. So let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Janice Fogarty, and I'm a communications strategist and consultant. The Connections, Coffee, Confidence podcast is for professional women entrepreneurs who have established themselves and their business, and they're ready to get serious about using the power of communication to surpass their business goals. On this podcast, I discuss everything from leadership to establishing a business vision to the intricacies of creating messaging, publicity, and more. I speak to women who excel in communications in their business, whatever they do, and get an inside look at how they created a thriving livelihood. So top up your mug and welcome to this week's episode. So what are you waiting for? Seriously. Life is passing us by, and here we are, waiting for something. My mother would always tell me that Christmas was coming when I was busy thinking something to death and then thinking about it some more. I believe she was implying that I was taking too long to make a decision and take action. Are you waiting for Christmas? There are perfectly rational and reasonable times when waiting and thinking things through is appropriate, when there are safety concerns, the potential for significant emotional impact on someone else, or if large sums of money are involved, then yeah, have a real good think. But when it comes to making a pitch to the media, launching a new product or a service, paying for an ad on your favorite social media platform, or being yourself, that's different. That often boils down to fear, and fear can just come from, a variety of places. Usually it can be dealt with by educating yourself on the reality, because your perception is clouding your view. I was recently messaging with someone that I really respect, someone I admire in so many ways, not least because of her accomplishments. And I was really nervous about asking her to come on the podcast because I was worried about the time that she and I had scheduled to talk, and I goofed the time difference. That has just stuck with me as a point of mortification. And it turns out she totally forgot that incident. We had a good laugh, and she made a comment about Overthinkers Anonymous. And I'm sure if I Googled that, I'd find that somebody has already taken that as a title for their book or their membership or something. Or maybe they're too busy overthinking it. But there was a similar mini conversation in my Facebook group where myself and another woman were having a discussion about overanalyzing things, about how we can talk ourselves into and talk ourselves right back out of really great ideas and actions. Does any of that ring true for you? Do you circle around and around your ideas, looking at them from every angle before deciding, not quite to jump in, but to dip your toe in? Do you think about them for so long that when you do decide to take action, you find that someone else started while you had your head down? Because when we wait, we miss out. We miss out on opportunities to meet new people, to try new things, to see new places. We miss out on money, to be quite honest. But what really gets me is that we miss out on knowing if we can, on knowing that we can. Because it's the confidence that we get when we've tried it and seen just what we're capable of. That's what's usually missing from those of us considering joining Overthinkers Anonymous. Because even if we aren't successful, that's fine. The world doesn't end, and we come back from it with a better idea of how to do it the next time, or if in fact we should never do that again. When we don't overanalyze and we simply create a thoughtful plan, leaving to chance the stuff that we can easily handle and mapping out the big things, we get the opportunity to test and revise, to rethink and do it again. We need to do to improve both the work and ourselves. An interesting thought that I heard on another podcast, it's the David McWilliams podcast, which I will link to the show notes. I can't remember if it was him or his guest who had said it, but one of them said that marketing was just a human experiment. Did you hear that? It's just an experiment. You know how in science class you learned, or maybe you had the opportunity to do actual experiments? And you know how in scientific theory, it's actually based off of not knowing and trying to find out. Where if the experiment doesn't prove the theory, neither you nor the theory are wrong. The theory just wasn't proven right. You don't come into it at all. It's not you who's right or wrong. It's the theory that's being tested. And when I heard that sentence, marketing is a human experiment, it just felt like so much of the weight had been lifted. Do you feel that? It's an experiment, and we experiment at all those things we're good at, all those things that we're confident about and we're comfortable with. Maybe you're like me and you're very confident in the kitchen. I bet you experiment in there all the time. You know how it's supposed to go, and if it doesn't go exactly right the first time, once you've taste tested the results, you know that you need to dial back the garlic or punch up the balsamic, or the lemon was good, but next time you're going to try lime because you have a suspicion that that's what will knock your taste buds right off your tongue. Or maybe you know how to experiment with clothing, or technology, or compose music, or put on makeup, or like 1,000 other things. But you experiment, and if it doesn't go exactly right, that's okay. You can fix it. And what if that was exactly the same with your marketing and PR? You just tweaked your message and your visuals when the first attempt didn't land as you wanted. You just tried it on a different platform or pitched a different journalist. What if you just tried it? Like with a plan, you're not just diving in head first with a blindfold on. You know the basics of what you're doing, and you do it to the best of your ability, but you do it. You try it. Have you ever noticed how much energy you can put into overthinking? Some people are nervous fidgeters. They expend a lot of energy. I am more of a sit still while my mind races for hours and hours kind of analyzer. And after I had my boys, I learned to channel those sessions into sitting in front of the laundry that needs to be folded. But still, there's an energy that you're putting into thinking things into oblivion that you could be using elsewhere. What if you took even half of that thinking or nervous energy and put it into actually doing what you're thinking about? Imagine what you could accomplish. Imagine what you could learn about yourself, about the idea, about your potential audience, your market, about the practicalities, if you took that brain space and put it towards good. It's kind of funny because I say I can talk myself out of anything. And I was rolling that idea that marketing is just a human experiment around in my head. And okay, yes, I was rolling it around for a while, but hey, new province, new house, new school for the kids. There's a lot rolling around in my head recently. But it made me wonder, what would happen if I took my amazing superpower to talk myself out of anything and I just flipped it? Just like that. Instead of talking myself out of things, I just talked myself into them. What would that look like? I think it would be like those books that you read or the stories that you hear where people decide to say yes to everything for 6 months or a year, but not as extreme. Because I know that when I start overanalyzing my ideas, I'm doing it out of fear. And that fear is based on a perception that I'm not good enough or smart enough, or that people won't like me. Okay, please, please send me an email or tag me on Instagram if you get that reverse reference. Doggone it. And I bet you're the same. What if we chose to look at it as though this is just an experiment? We're testing something. It has nothing to do with us. It's a theory that we're testing. No reflection of our worth. It's a human experiment. And what if all of those things you were worrying about were just like my worry of that woman thinking I was a total doofus who either can't tell time or understand time zones? What if those fears are just our own perceptions, not reality? Would you find it easier to get things started, to get them going, if you were just testing an idea? Because Christmas is coming. No matter what religion or belief set that you might have, Christmas is a well-known date on most calendars. And I bet that you have something you've been rolling around in your head for the last little while. So I guess the big question is, what are you waiting for? Thanks so much for listening this week. I invite you to sign up for my email list or join me in the Connections Coffee and Confidence community on Facebook. Those are the people who get first dibs on any classes or products I create, and they benefit from the extras I can't get into in a podcast format. I also lovingly request that if you've enjoyed this podcast, you leave a review on Apple. When I see a new review, I get so excited I almost spill my cappuccino froth. Almost. And if you're a woman entrepreneur who's ready to get serious about using the power of communications to grow your business, send me an email at janice@janicefogarty.com. All my details are in the show notes. Thank you again for listening today, and I'll chat with you again next week.